All right, welcome back to another episode of the Bullpen Blues. As always, I'm your co-host Kevin Dixon, joined by our good buddy David Esser. David, following a big walk-off win to salvage a homestand and getting swept by Gabe Kapler. How are you feeling today?
Kevin, um, thank goodness for Bryce Harper. He willed us to a win today.
Yes.
The outcries if this team would have gotten swept by Gabe Kapler and the Giants. And look, I understand the Giants are playing pretty good baseball at the moment. That's not a roster that should instill a lot of fear in a team like the Phillies. Yeah, they needed this one today. Off day tomorrow, which is great, and they're off to play Colorado, which is hopefully a get right me kind of series. But yeah, I mean, full transparency. I'm not feeling super great after losing a series at home to Gabe Kapler and the Giants. But yeah, today was a fun one. They needed that. Shout out to Bryce for really putting his team on the back there at the end.
They better win this series with Colorado, dude.
Yeah,
I don't want to sit here on Sunday and is it Sunday, right? It told me a 3-game set. I don't want to sit here on Sunday and having them have lost 2 or 3 to potentially the worst team in baseball. We're getting swept. They need to win this series. And the Giants sure don't have a lot of talent. They have a pretty good manager.
yeah. Gabe. Kevin, we've talked about this before. We actually I don't want to say we're Gabe fans, but we think he's better than what he showed in Philly, and I think he's shown it now in San Francisco. He had a really good week against the Phillies here. He made all the right moves. I think 3 days in a row, and they probably would have swept if it wasn't for Bryce's late game heroics.
Well, he outmanaged Girardi. There's no question. We saw what he did last year with their roster. He had them in it until they collapsed late, which is a staple for Gabe. But I mean, he just didn't fit the mentality in Philly because you already say it. They're 9-9. Not a good start, but not a bad start. 9-9 isn't the worst position to be in considering how many holes that they've really shown that they do have as a roster. I personally believe if you can get out of April at 500, I think that's good because the good teams start to take off in the summer. You just need to stay in the race. And look, 9-9, especially if they're starting 5-1, it's not the best. It's not where you necessarily want to be. But for all the holes that they've shown they've had, I mean, would they go 0 for 35 from their center fielders at one point? It's not the worst beginning of the season.
Yeah, and that's definitely one way to look at it. I
Yeah.
tend to look at
Trying
it.
to be optimistic.
Yeah, and I'm always the more pessimistic one. I tend to look at it as they started off 5-1. They're
Yeah.
4-8 since they lost a series to the Giants. They got swept by the Mets. And with that said, look, the roster holes I think are bigger than we all expected. Andrew McCutchen's given this team nothing out in left field. Center field's its own discussion.
Awful.
The
He's
bench, which we were a little bit hopeful for, is probably one of the worst in baseball at the moment. I mean, we're looking. It was Scott Kingery who was called upon late in ball games to put it in play when he really should just be back in the alternate site until he's ready. You look at Matt Moore, he probably shouldn't be on the roster. Alec Boehm's still really been struggling as of late. So I think the roster holes are bigger than we thought, maybe through the first 6 games of the season. But with that said, 4-8 in your last 12 this early in the year, that's tough. I understand there's been some injuries. Didi, he's out. Gene Segura, he's going to miss some time. Archie Bradley, Jose Alvarado, they've been unavailable recently. But I'm not super pleased with how they've looked the last couple of weeks. I think there's an avenue to turn it around, specifically as we get closer to the trade deadline. Grand scheme of things, 9-9. Look, it's not horrible. You should have a winnable series against Colorado this weekend. But I definitely walked away from San Francisco feeling not great about the team at the moment.
Yeah, man, when San Fran took that 5-4 lead, knowing we were going to record later on in the day, I was so deflated. I was like, man, it's going to suck getting on the mic if they get swept by the Giants. Yeah, I mean, look, man, before we are going to get into the Colorado series, even before we do, I can't stress it enough. They better win that series because I'll be singing a different tune if we get on here Sunday. I'm usually the optimist. I'll be singing a different tune if they drop 2 or 3 or get swept in Colorado.
Yeah, and I would typically say they need to sweep a team like Colorado,
I
but
would agree because 12-9, you're like, okay, 12-9.
12-9 solid. The problem is we got Vince Velasquez on the mound on Friday, and him in Coors Field is not Kevin. That's not going to be a pleasant experience.
Yeah. I mean, all the people who rightfully so are calling for Matt Moore to be out of the rotation. This is what it's going to be, at least until more help comes. We'll see what Vince can do. I mean, you're hoping he gives you 5, right? At least, God, he cannot go 3 or 4 innings. He has to at least give him 5.
He's got to do 5. And that it might be might be a long 5 innings. We might be pushing
Yeah,
100
he'll be at
pitches.
80 pitches in the 3rd inning or something. Something
Yeah,
weird.
but I mean, we can't. The bullpen's already super depleted. He can't go out there and run the bullpen dry in the first game of the series.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because it's been as usual in April, a lot of bad weather in Colorado. Well, I haven't looked at the weather report. They might be playing in the snow. I think it was snowing today when they were playing Houston.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it could certainly be a miserable trip there if the weather is just awful and they just come out flat. I'm hoping that this win can propel them. I mean, 3-3 on the homestand. Look, I was sitting here saying 5-1, 4-2. Glass half full. Like I said, at least they didn't get swept. But I certainly want to see more. Like when I sit here and I'm optimistic, I don't want people to think that I don't see the issues that this team has because they clearly have holes. And like you said, they're probably bigger than we anticipated. But I'm just trying to be the voice of reason and trying to be positive. Let's go win this series in Colorado, and maybe we'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything you said right there. Again, fingers crossed they can pull out a sweep. If not, they have to take two. And
Sweep,
look,
I'll be feeling great. Come home. Where did they go to St. Louis after, or are
St.
they?
Louis and then back to New York.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's.
yeah. It's a 9-game homestand or road trip.
I don't know if they're all on the road.
No, they're at home against the Mets.
Okay, which good.
Because I'm going the 30th. Which, by the way, I didn't end up going yesterday.
Oh yeah,
I
you
was
missed that
feeling a bit
debacle.
under the weather. I gave my ticket to my uncle, so it worked out. But I guess I'm kind of glad I wasn't there.
Yeah, that was and so let's circle back before we start jumping too ahead to
Yeah,
Colorado. Let's circle back to this series. There's a lot to talk about, and we're gonna hone in on Girardi here in a second because I think everyone's in agreement that he did not have a very good series or a good season for that matter. But the most frustrating thing for me is I'm looking specifically at the first 2 games. They just wasted good pitching. Um,
yeah,
and I say that specifically in game 1, Chase Anderson did exactly what we've been saying he's going to do all year long. He kept him in the game. He didn't give
yep.
up a lot of runs. The bullpen was great. The following day, Wheeler wasn't. He didn't have his best stuff. But look, he had him winning the ball game. The bats came alive. You're feeling pretty good, and then the bullpen collapsed. And it's hard for me to look at those 2 games and be like, all right, Chase Anderson pitched well in game 1. You had Zach Wheeler with run support in game 2, and you somehow lost both of those matchups. Like that's hard to stomach.
Well, before I get into the Brogdon debacle, I'm glad you brought up Wheeler because I did want to say I was very I was a tad disappointed because they did spot him a nice lead, and he kind of let the Giants back into the game. I understand the Phillies ended up getting a 2-run homer from Bone, which was a blast. By the way, that was a bomb. Um, we needed a little bit better of an outing from Wheeler. He wasn't awful, but I mean, come on, man, you can't let them back in the game like that. You just can't.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree. Wheeler was pretty forthcoming with he felt he should have been better.
Yeah, which is
Whatever.
good.
Like
Yeah,
Buster
I want to hear
Posey,
that.
Buster Posey was just out there hitting home runs. It kind of felt a little fluky. He didn't give up a lot of. He only gave up 5 hits through 5 2/3. So I don't think he was bad. Obviously, the home run stuff is a little concerning, and you would have liked him to go.
He wasn't very efficient though. He had like
He wasn't.
110 pitches or something, right? Like,
Yeah, he was at 105. But
yeah, like he just wasn't very. It wasn't a typical Zach Wheeler start.
no, I mean
Which
he's
I
normally
guess if he gave up 3, what did he go 5 2/3? Like if that's a bad outing from him, then that speaks volumes about the kind of pitcher that he is. But we needed a little bit more.
And I think your first point was my main takeaway that look, that was bad Wheeler, and he still kept him in the game.
Yeah,
He still put him in a position to win. His strikeout numbers were still high, his hit numbers were still low. And I'm like, all right, like this is still a winnable ball game.
yeah.
And then, we Connor Brogdon, he wasn't gonna pitch 70 scoreless innings this year. Eventually he was gonna stutter. It just happened in a rather excessive manner that I don't think any of us expected.
I mean, look, he obviously didn't have his stuff, but what the hell was Girardi doing, man? Like, he threw like 30 something pitches. He faced 8 hitters. Like, come on, man. You can't just leave that guy out there to dry. He hung him out to dry. I was very upset with that. Like, he gives up the first 3-run homer. He clearly doesn't have it. Get him out of there. And then he puts 2 more guys on, and you're just still keeping him in. Like, he clearly didn't have his best pitch. I honestly, like, he just hung him out to dry. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I thought Girardi was supposed to be good at managing the bullpen. That was absolutely ridiculous. And I know Brogdon, like I said, he wasn't good. There's no reason he should have been in that ball game to give up the second 3-run homer. It's ludicrous. I could not, I couldn't fathom it. I was like, really? Like, why? Everybody could say it. Why the hell was he still in the game?
Yeah, and trying to rationalize it from Girardi's perspective, I do understand it. Look, the bullpen's super depleted at the moment. Some guys got put on the COVID list they didn't expect. I mean, the guy they put in for Brogdon was Ramon Rosso, who's not a major league pitcher. So I understand that they needed Brogdon to get through that inning. With that said, when a guy doesn't have their stuff, he doesn't
Just
have his stuff.
tanking his confidence, man.
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
this is like, we're in April. Like, don't tank the guy's confidence because in a just, I don't want to say a meaningless game in April because they all count the same. But dude, it's April. Don't just leave him out there to dry. I couldn't believe that. And you're right, Ramon Rosso, not very good, but it was so blatantly obvious that Brogdon didn't have it.
and now I kind of want to go to the Joe Girardi discussion here because there's been a few points this season specifically where I'm looking around and I'm like, all right, so you're gonna make Brogdon pitch more than he should have, but
Yeah.
then you're gonna pull Eflin a little bit early today, or pull that
Yep.
pitcher a little bit early that day, or not use this reliever on that day, or use Scott Kingery as a pinch hitter when he clearly is not seeing fastballs at the moment, or Andrew Knapp at second base, like whatever it is. It feels a little unorthodox. Now, granted, like I said, they're 9-9. It's not like the sky's falling. Everybody take a deep breath. With that said, if Gabe Kapler was
Yes.
pulling these same types of moves,
Andrew
Kevin,
Knapp at second base, people would kill Kapler for that. It's crazy.
and I understand that Girardi holds a little bit more clout. Look, he's literally won a World Series. He beat the Phillies doing so. He's has a ton of wins as a manager in baseball, but that doesn't excuse kind of these early hiccups, early flaws where I'm just like, all right, Girardi, look, they brought you in to put this team over the hump. I don't want to say he's holding them back, but he's definitely not helping them at the moment.
I love the way you just put it because he's certainly not holding them back. But we were sold that he was supposed to be a difference maker, make a difference.
Yeah. And, I preface that with I still think just the on field talent is still the biggest issue. Obviously, look, they got some superstars on the team. You're expected to win baseball games when you have Bryce Harper, Real Muto, Aaron Nola, whoever. Andrew McCutcheon, like we said, he's giving the team nothing out there.
Oh, God, dude.
The bench is a joke. The bullpen super beat up. Didi and Gene Segura are now both injured. Reese Hoskins, who honestly no one's talking about, he's not been good recently.
No.
His OPS is down in the low 700s as your first baseman, who's also not very good defensively. That's bad. Alec Bohm, he's been struggling. So you look around the diamond and you're like, all right, Girardi doesn't have a ton to work with. With that said, there are other managers in this league who are getting better results with less talent, like a Gabe Kapler. You look at a team like the Orioles; they've been playing good baseball recently, and the Marlins they've been hanging around. So it's like, all right, Girardi, maximize what you do have and figure this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, you just summed it up perfectly, man. And just to circle back to like some of his lineup decisions, Andrew McCutcheon should not be in the lineup every day. Me and you were sold on platoon him. Brad Miller should be in there 3, 4, 5 days a week. 4 for 5 today. Went deep the other night. He should be playing. I mean, it's not even like you can look at it and be like, well, Kutch gives you good defense. He opened the floodgates to that inning tonight.
Mhm.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah, the Brad Miller thing, and this is something I believe we talked about on a most recent episode. It's not even in my notes, but I do want to touch on it real quick. As far as I'm concerned, he should be an everyday player. He is hitting 368 at the moment with a 926 OPS. He's got positional versatility where he can give you reps at first base, third base, left field. I don't care if he's never played right field. I'm sure he could figure it out, right? He can play second base. Like, gives you all over positional versatility. He can hit the baseball, and he's got a little bit of pop to him. So even if he's not hitting for a high average, he's going to put the ball over the wall every third day, which is something this team really hasn't been doing at a high rate outside of Bryce Harper. So it's like if you're going to admit, look, we're just going to have a bad defensive left fielder in Andrew McCutchen, I'd rather have a bad defensive left fielder in Brad Miller who can hit the baseball.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain, but he kind of has like a like some flair.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, he has some spunk. Like he's like a fun guy, you know? Like he's just a fun guy. Like he brings energy. Like I like he's like I'm not comparing him to Bryce Harper, but like the energy that Bryce Harper brings, like Brad, that's what we preached at when they signed Bamboo Brad. Great clubhouse guy, well liked by the fans, well liked by his teammates. Easy guy to root for. And if he's just going to continue to produce, like his at bat in the ninth inning, where he just lifted one in the left for a bloop single, move Harper into scoring position. That's what he does, man. And he has like just one of those long swings. Like he looks like he's swinging a boat oar when he's up there,
Yeah, he does.
and it works, and it just works.
No, I agree completely. I perk up a little bit when Brad Miller gets to the
Yeah,
plate. He's fun. He's exciting. He's got that pop to him, which you're like at any given point he could get a hanger up in the zone. He's putting that ball deep into right field.
yeah, and he has like some attitude to him. Like he has, like I said, he shows energy, emotion. Like he's an emotional guy. It's just fun to root for guys like that. And we talked about it last week. Like the fact that he rejuvenated his career in Philly, went to St. Louis, had a good year,
He
and
had a great year.
came back to Philly. Like it's just like he's just a fun guy to root for. He's one of my favorite players on the team, no question. I was so excited when they re-signed him. You know, we were on this show. I was glowing that episode. I was so happy.
Yeah, and look, I love McCutchen. I love Bohm. I like Hoskins. I wouldn't say I love Hoskins. I like Hoskins, right? Like I like these players. I want them to produce. But at the moment, Miller's hitting the baseball better than all three of them combined.
Yeah.
If making Bohm sit once in a while to get Miller on the field, making Kutch, platoon the left field position, giving Hoskins some extra rest days, I'm okay with doing any of those things to get Brad Miller in the lineup, especially when he's this hot.
I'm all for getting and people aren't gonna like this, but having my eye on the future, let's get Bohm some reps at first, man.
Yeah,
A
you're
lot
gonna
of
bring
people
up a
think
little.
I mean, I'm not saying bench Hoskins at all, but like the days that he doesn't play, like he didn't play, what was it, last night? He had to come in because Gene got hurt.
Mhm.
Why not get him some reps at first, man? Seriously, I mean, what can it hurt?
Yeah, and then you open up third base for a
Yeah,
certain
you know
free
what I'm
agent.
getting at.
I know where you're going with this. Future Philly Chris Bryant.
Yeah, dude, the prophecy. So it can be fulfilled. We got to get Bohm some time at first, man.
Yeah, no, I'm in on the Chris Bryant thing. I'm all in. I'm so
Off to
glad
a
he didn't
great
get traded.
start, of course.
Yeah, because he's
Contract
a
year,
stud.
of course,
He's
he's going to
great.
hit this year. Just drive that
Um,
price up for the Phils.
that's fine. We got money to spend. We're good. All right, Kevin, I want to talk about today's win. Let's get a little bit positive here because it was a good win at the end of the
Yeah,
day. Zach Eflin, he's cruising, man. He looks really, really good at the moment. For him to also be forced to start the game, sit back down because of the rain delay, get back up and continue to get outs, I was impressed. I hope he continues it because he's a real force at the moment. Another player I wanted to touch on who raked all week, shortstop,
yeah.
Nick Mayton. He's been incredible.
He's one of my favorite players on the roster right now.
Yeah. He's hit his batting average is 417 at the moment, Kevin.
It's like an OPS is like 9 something, right?
917, yeah.
Yeah. I do. Before we even get into Mayton, I got to applaud you, man. How like I don't know how long we've been on. You haven't mentioned Moniak once.
Oh, dude, that's so bad of me. Mickey Moniak hit a 3-run homer today.
Beautiful swing too, man.
I read there was some crazy stat. It was like he's like the youngest Phillies outfielder to hit a home run in like 40 plus years or something insane like that.
He's been a lot of fun so far, man. I mean, we were talking about it today. He's definitely a work in progress at the plate, but I've been impressed. I think he should continue to play.
His defense has been very good.
It's been I feel like his reads haven't been great, but
Yeah.
he's been able to recover and make plays. So like, and the more time he plays out there, the better he's going to get.
Which, to be fair, Hazley and Quinn weren't able to read the ball, nor were they able to make plays.
And
So,
nor were they able to hit.
nor were yeah. I mean, Moniak, look, he's hitting 111, which isn't great, but give him some
Nah, it's
time.
got to be higher than that. No way he's hitting 111.
He's he's hitting 111.
Was he two for what?
I don't know because he's had a lot of at bats.
Has he had that many already?
Yeah,
Wow.
he's been up for a minute now. He's hitting 111, but yeah,
Yeah,
today
111. Wow, I'm sitting here. I'm like, man, I've been impressed. He's 2
because
for 18.
yeah, his first hit wasn't until Tuesday's game, right? He went opposite field, and then Mayton drove him in.
But anyway, to swing back to Mayton, because I don't want to get off of that topic. I just thought it was funny that we hadn't even gotten the Moniac when
I
we're the
know
money.
that's so bad of me.
But Mayton has been awesome and it's really been like a breath of fresh air because it's not somebody that you would have anticipated would come up and produce. I think he's going to continue to play with Segura out, and then like we just talked about Miller. Good time to continue to get Miller at bats. Mayton should continue to play because he's got a little bit of flair to him as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at him, and look, this is a guy I don't think either of us talked about all offseason. A lot of our
Was
attention,
not on my radar at all.
no, we're talking infield prospects. We're talking Bryson Stott. We're not talking Nick Mayton, but he
Yeah,
has quietly come up. He looks comfortable defensively. He's very athletic. He's very fast. I mean, he hit a triple the other night. Um, got a nice compact swing, drives the ball, a lot of contact. He's not going to keep hitting 417, but if he's riding any sort of productive wave, yeah, keep him in the lineup, especially going up to Coors Field where maybe he shows off a little more power. That would be a pretty sweet addition to the team's bench if he actually develops into a good bench bat who can play the shortstop position.
well, he had a really good spring too.
What did
Like
he hit in the spring?
286, 355 on base, 536 slug. So 891 OPS, 8 ribbies. That was in 31 plate appearances.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Like we were talking CJ Chatham.
Hmm.
I mean, I know he did end up resigning. He's back with the organization, but Nick Mayton's kind of just come out of nowhere. I mean, like you said, he was not on our radar. I love it, man. 7th round pick too. Like for all the misses they've had over the years, he seems like even if he is just a bench piece, it's not bad for a 7th round pick.
And I hate to even throw this out there with how well he's playing, but the trade value is going to be up for him if Dombrowski is looking to make a significant move at the deadline. Like, wouldn't be opposed to it. You just because you don't really want to just stash him away on the bench moving forward. But he's flashed some potential, which I'm sure other teams around the league have at least seen.
Absolutely. And hey, man, just keep on hitting. Like we always talk about, like we're just talking about with Miller. If you hit the baseball, they're going to find a spot for you on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's hitting the ball real well right now. Okay, Kevin, I got one final take from this past series
Okay.
before we start looking ahead to Colorado or anything else we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The Phillies, they lost the series to San Francisco, but man, they crushed them in the offseason with the trade for Sam Coonrod. They
How
flipped.
good has he been, man?
He's been great. They flipped Ragsdale, 4th-round rookie,
Who we
hasn't
did
even.
like. I remember.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was on your pod. We talked to him, and he was someone that we were like, okay, he's a big guy.
4th-round pick.
I'd say the return has been pretty good.
The return has been very good. Yeah, Coonrod, his ERA is down in the low ones. A lot of strikeouts, a
His
lot of
whip,
velocity. His whip is below. Was it like a .4?
.375. That's incredible.
Yeah, very good. A lot of swings and misses. His velocity. So I wrote a piece about him last night. It went up this morning. His average fastball velocity in 2020, which was not a great year for him, was like 98 and a half.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Phillies, Dombrowski, they kind of gambled with him. They like, all right, we see the velocity, it's there. The results aren't there, but the velocity is there. Traded for him, brought him in, kept him on the roster. His velocity's gone up, Kevin. It's like 99.7 on his
Yeah.
fastball, which is average velocity of almost 100 miles per hour. That's insane.
He has the seventh highest whip on the roster, highest out of the bullpen. He's been their best reliever. There's no question about it.
He's been very good between him, Alvarado, just having those two flamethrowers. And obviously Alvarado's not active at the moment, but once he comes back, that's quite the 1-2 punch that you can trot out for a seventh and eighth inning.
Yeah, and he continues to produce. He's going to become a high leverage arm for them.
Mm-hmm.
No question. He's
That's
got
the
the
other thing.
elo for it.
He's under team control through 2025.
Pretty damn good return, man. I mean, uh, what else can you ask for? Just keep getting outs.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have us sit here and praise you and then go to Colorado this week and give up a 3 spot or something.
That'd be frustrating because we did that with Brogdon. We were talking about how great he was, and then he gets rocked out there, which it happens. It's baseball.
It happens. I mean, like we said, Brogdon shouldn't have gave up 6 runs.
No, he should
He's
not.
been out of there. I will take that to the grave. He should have been out of there. I digress, though.
But yeah, Coonrod, good player, good reliever. I'm happy he's on the team. Quite the just refreshing change of pace having him and Alvarado compared to
Yes.
Austin Davis. Who else? Diolis Guerrero, whoever you want to name
Brandon
from last year's
Workman.
bullpen. Yeah, Brandon Workman. Did he end up making the Cubs? By the way, do we know? Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And you just brought up Diolis Guerrero.
Yeah.
How the hell are Diolis Guerrero and Cole Irvin on the same staff?
Cole Irvin pitched well the other night.
Oh, give me a break. Who did he face? I think it was like Detroit or something.
Kevin, you tell me right now. Would you rather have Cole Irvin or Matt Moore in the 5th spot?
Phils are 2-1 and Matt Moore starts.
Do you remember? Was it Mother's Day that Cole Irvin debuted?
Yeah,
It was
when he
on
debuted
Cole
against
Hamels.
KC, against the Royals. Yeah,
They should
he stinks, dude.
yeah, not great.
Just
Actually, okay, so that's actually a good talking point that we've talked about. Matt Moore, he's probably not going to be the Phillies' 5th starter. Probably by next month. Definitely not by the end of the
I mean, if
season.
Vince comes out and pitches really well Friday, I'm just saying, like we've been down this road before. If Vince gives you a good outing, do you give him another turn?
No.
Okay.
Oh, do I give Matt Moore?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Over Moore.
I'd give Matt Moore another turn before I give Vince Velasquez another turn. I'm not doing it, man.
All right.
No, what they should do is they should start looking at external help. Cole Hamels is going to be doing a showcase for some teams coming up. Anibal Sanchez, I believe, is doing another showcase. That's a guy the Phillies expressed some serious interest in during the offseason. Obviously, they went the Matt Moore route instead.
Yep.
Probably wishing they went the Anibal Sanchez. Not that Anibal is good. I was very against the Anibal Sanchez signing.
You were against it at the time.
He stinks. But is he going to give you a 9.82 ERA? Probably not. So Anibal is a guy to watch. Cole Hamels is a guy to watch.
The thing that worries me with Hamels is if he comes in and doesn't pitch well, how will we look at his legacy in Philly? Like, because he ended as high as you can go. Like, he won an NLCS MVP, World Series MVP, won a lot of games for the team. Pitched a no-hitter in his last start. If he comes in and gets bombed, is it the Ryan Howard effect, where we look at the last couple of years of Ryan Howard's career and we forget about his peak? And don't get me wrong, I was saying to you the other day, I'd love to bring Cole Hamels in. But that worries me, especially with how volatile the fan base is right now. Because after every loss, you say it, everybody needs to be gone. Every time they lose a ball game, it's that way.
No, I think that's a really good point. I mean, even I hate bringing up the Eagles on this podcast, but you look at how the Deshaun Jackson signing worked out, right? People were not a fan of him the last few years in Philadelphia. And I don't want that to happen to Cole. He went out on such a great note. legend, World Series MVP, which is why I'd probably lean towards an Anibal Sanchez because if he sucks, who cares? You just cut him as well and no harm done. The other name who could sneak in there, Kev, he pitched today, and boy, did he look good, Spencer Howard.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing because they did already pretty much say that they don't want to use him as a starter. I think he could be a really good bullpen arm, man. Like he was awesome today. So I guess it'll really depend on do they want to stretch him back out? If they do make him a starter, how many innings are they going to let him go? Um, that's a tricky situation. It's certainly not one that they wanted to find themselves in on April 21st.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that with a lot of the roster holes. They definitely didn't expect center field to be as bad as it is. They didn't expect left field to be as bad as it is. They probably expected Bohm to be a lot better at third base. So yeah, it does put him in a tricky spot where you had this plan with Spencer Howard of kind of saving him, letting him work at the alternate site, and maybe pitching once a week on doubleheaders. Which, the, for what it's worth, it looks like the plan has been an advantageous one because he this is the best I've seen him look in quite some time the way he pitched today. I mean, his fastball was up at 98, 3 straight strikeouts, a lot of movement on his pitches, ton of velocity. It was a lot of really good stuff. So I don't want to ruin that plan. With that said, he's definitely one of the top 10 pitchers on this team at the moment
Yeah,
in terms of just pure talent, right?
for sure. Yeah, there's no question about it. Just to circle back to Cole Hamels because I looked this up the other day. Now that we're just talking about him, I reminded me. I wanted to bring it back up. We all remember when the Phillies bombed him on. It was on an ESPN game. I don't know. It might have been a Sunday when he was with the Cubs. It was 8 runs in 2 innings. They absolutely blasted him. He wasn't that bad the rest of the year. He had 3 more quality starts with the Cubs, and he had a couple games where he went like 4 innings and he was all right. Before that start against the Phils, he was 6-3 that year, 679 OPS against, 309 ERA. This is a guy who signed for $20 million last year, and he was hurt. I do think that he could still be an effective pitcher. I really do. Um, Obviously, like I said, like it is one of those things where you worry about what it is going to do to his legacy, and it sounds like a really corny thing to say, but like it's a real thing. Um, but man, how awesome of a story would that be? He comes in pitching big innings for them. They get back to the postseason. He's pitching big innings for them. It could be a really, really fun addition. And you would have to think he has a showcase. They're clearly they're going to be there, right? There's no way that they don't go to that. You know, does Philly have an advantage over another team? Like in his mind, is he thinking, all right, be cool to go back to Philly? I think he still lives around here.
No, it's a very good point. I think a lot of it does just depend how the showcase goes because the last time he pitched for Atlanta, not great. And
Yeah.
obviously he was
Only one
battling.
outing.
It's the only one outing. He got clobbered though. That's
For
worth
sure.
noting. And
For sure.
obviously he's getting up there in age. His velocity is going to be way down, which is the main thing we're complaining about with Matt Moore at the moment is that he's throwing fastballs at 91.
Yeah, but if
Uh,
Cole, I mean, there's no question Cole Hamels is a better pitcher than Matt Moore.
oh, without a doubt.
So, like, I understand the velo argument, but like, Cole knows how to pitch. So,
Mhm.
like, if he can still get outs, velo's a great thing, but I'm more worried about can you get guys out? It's kind of what it comes down to. Because I've seen a lot of guys who throw hard and are not effective. Just get outs, man. I think Cole could do that. And at the same time, it could be something that blows up in their face. Like it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, no. First of all, I definitely agree with you. Look, I just want guys to get outs. I don't care how you do it if you're throwing 89 or 102. And then when it comes to blowing up in their face, it's just kind of what's the expectation? You're not expecting him to go 7 innings every fifth day, but if he can give you 5 innings,
Keep you in the
five
game,
plus,
like we
keep him
always
in the
talk about.
game, which
Yep.
Matt Moore isn't doing, right? He's getting knocked out by the third inning, which is just unacceptable. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think Cole Hamels, Anibal, maybe Spencer Howard, maybe some other guys out there,
Sounds
all
good.
worth. Adonis Medina, yeah, it's another really good name. No, I mean, but like, I'm serious. Like, give him a shot. He can't be worse than Matt Moore.
We talked about it last week, man. I would love to see Adonis Medina get a chance.
I'm sure we'll be talking about it again after Vince Velasquez's start. All right, Kevin Coors Field, Colorado Rockies. We touched on it a little bit. outside of winning the series, I also just want to see this team start hitting the baseball really hard.
They're going to a good place to do it.
They're going to the best place to do it. If there was ever an opportunity to collectively find our swing game, because the home run numbers haven't been great outside of Bryce. I need to see more power from Reese. I need to see a little bit more power from JT. Hopefully, Didi's active as well. See him driving the ball. Hopefully, Kutch. I don't know what his status is for this weekend. Seeing any of these guys, hopefully all of these guys getting together and start driving the baseball really far. That's a necessity for me this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to watch 3-1 nothing games. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to a Coors Field. They're going to hit the baseball this weekend. If they didn't, that would be insane. They're going to score runs. But like you said, this is a great opportunity to get right. You know, it's a get right series. Of course, they could easily lose the series. I said it earlier in the show. They better not lose the series. I would be very upset if they lose the series to Colorado, considering all the tough games that are going to remain on their schedule. That this is one of the series where you're going to go in as a clear favorite. They'll be favored in every game, even with Vince on the mound. They're going to be favored in every single game. David, I'm looking for a sweep. I'm looking for a sweep. Let's get some momentum. I don't care if Matt Moore was pitching Friday. I understand it's Vince. Not very good. Don't care. This is the better baseball team. Go win a series. Go sweep them. This is a basement dweller, man. You have aspirations of being a playoff team. It's a team you got to sweep.
I'm with you. Can't buy into a Vince Velasquez starting Coors Field. I think he's going to
I get it. Now I get it. But who's he facing? Do you know the matchup? Is it John Gray? Is it Freeland?
No, I can pull it up though.
Is it Herman Marquez?
Whoever it is, it's not going to be somebody insane.
I do think Marquez is a good arm.
Friday, yeah, it is against Marquez. So actually, that's not a great.
Colorado might be favored in that game. I take back what I said. I don't care, David. Go win. You know,
yeah, no, I like winning. I'm with you.
Bats need to get going because they're going to have to score some runs this weekend.
They're definitely going to have to score some runs. All right, Kevin. Before we wrap this up, any other final takes that you wanted to touch on real quick?
Just win, man. I'm trying to be the voice of optimism for Phillies fans. Dropping 2 or 3 to San Francisco, it's hard to continue to be optimistic, but you better believe I'm going to continue to be optimistic. Let's go win a series in Colorado. Let's go to St. Louis, win another series against the Cardinals. Let's get right, David. If we can get out of April with a 500 record, that's a win in my book.
Okay. I'd prefer to be a few games over 500, but I can.
Absolutely. Like, that goes without saying. Like, obviously, I want them to be.
I'd actually prefer to be below
7 in a row or something. Yeah, I want them to go on and run here. If we can get out of April with 500, okay.
Yeah. All right. So I have 2 quick takes before we sign off.
Okay.
Number 1 about the Phillies. Number 2, not really about the Phillies. Number 1, Bryce Harper. We barely talked about him in this episode, which is insane. The dude's looking like an MVP. He is fully in the nitro zone at the moment. He's hitting everything. OPS over 1100. Something we've talked about is he's gonna have these hot streaks where he's literally Barry Bonds at the plate. He's in that zone right now. He's hitting everything.
Yes.
They have to not waste these performances, if that makes sense. They didn't do it today, so props to them. Good job, Andrew Knapp. Love that. Good job, Hector Neris. Against Colorado, against St. Louis, hopefully he's still cooking by the time they play New York. They got to rack up some wins when Harper's playing at a near untouchable level.
Absolutely. And like you were saying today, when we talked about it before we got on, when he homered in the 7th, I was like, all right, they're going to win this game. I felt good about it. He came up. He didn't really get anything to hit in the 9th. Not surprising. But at the same time, you never want to walk the leadoff guy. So I get that they didn't want to pitch to him, but I was kind of surprised that they sort of just like walked him. He didn't have anything to hit. you got to admit, when Andrew Knapp was up there, I saw a double play ball coming. I was waiting for the ground ball to shorten.
No, it was a good job by Nat. But yeah, the Harp's in that zone right now, which is always
Yeah.
fun to see. All right,
The MVP Hart, man. This we were saying coming into the year, this was the year, right? I mean, he was all settled with his family. It's not a COVID year. He had a full off season, getting ready. With, like we said, no COVID restrictions. I mean, obviously they had restrictions, but it wasn't like last year. It was kind of a ridiculous season last year. This is the year, man. And for all the naysayers who say he's overrated, he's overpaid, he's shutting them up.
yeah, no, he's playing like an MVP. They gotta have the appropriate amount of wins so he can be seriously considered
No,
for that award.
no
Um,
question about it.
our final take before we sign off. Got MLB The Show this week. Been
Yes.
playing a good amount. Kevin,
Yep.
it's a great game. Very pleased.
I can't believe it's on Xbox, man.
I'm so excited. It's been so
Yeah.
long.
It's I mean, they haven't had a baseball game since I was like a sophomore in high school. That was a long time ago.
The last time I played a baseball game was like on my PlayStation 2, like MLB
Yeah,
11.
yeah,
10
exactly,
years.
exactly. I'm gonna have so much fun with that. As we continue to gain more traction, I would like to get a Bullpen Blues Twitch going. We could play some MLB The Show
That'd
on
be
there.
sick.
If people were interested, I would love to do that. So that's on you guys, the listeners. That's something you would want to see in the future. I know you would love to do that, David. I absolutely would. I play enough of it as it is. Um, Fantastic game. They did the Phillies so dirty in that game. The ratings are ridiculous. Eflin way too low. Wheeler way too low. Kutch way too high. Um, but yeah, I got to agree. I'm glad you brought it up because I can't stop smiling right now thinking of it. It is the best game on the market.
I've probably been playing too much at the moment, if anything.
I'm always playing too much, man.
Yeah,
I
probably always.
agree.
I mean, I'm either playing baseball, watching baseball,
We're
writing
writing
about
about
baseball.
baseball.
I'm always baseball around here. All right. With that said, look, frustrating series. Good win today.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll build some momentum heading into Colorado. With that said, if you guys want to subscribe to the podcast, follow the podcast, you can do that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Both of those links will be down in the description below. Also, if you prefer to watch the podcast, these get uploaded to youtube.com. So you can find that link to watch the podcast on YouTube as well. Make sure to subscribe to that account. With that said, we are the Bullpen Blues podcast, and we will be back after a sweep against the Colorado Rockies on Sunday.
Love it. Go Phils.